This is what I learned. This is what I learned. That in order to, you have to accept it as it is. You have to accept that my father is a dying old man, that he has only a limited amount of time left. And all I can do is give him comfort, love, and most importantly, dignity. This is the one thing that we ignore in caring for elderlies, is we forgot that they need dignity as much as they need oxygen. Especially for male, especially for Chinese male, I think. So the question is, how do you maintain that dignity? A lot of times we don't listen anymore. We just don't listen to it as a caregivers. We don't listen to the care receivers, especially if the patient, if the person you care for is suffering from dementia. So I talk about mindfulness of the body. I talk about paying attention to your breath when you're still. When I go over to see my father, every time I'm next to him, this is the time when I have to pay attention to my breath. Because your own emotion can come up. Your own emotion can come up. So the last day, as we were getting ready to leave, my father said something about how he lost his money. He couldn't find his money. So I went in and asked him where he could have put it. I searched his pants, his shirts, I searched everywhere. Couldn't find it. And then I realized that he had hidden them in his sock. And when he took off his sock, he forgot that the money was in his sock. So I took it out and gave it back to him. He put it in his sock again. So he was sleeping in one sock, but money in his sock. So I said, fine, that's it. Go ahead, So because a lot of times, people suffering dementia, they wake up multiple times at night. They have nightmares. They see things. All kinds of things can happen. So one of the things that I work very hard on is to make sure that he gets a good night's sleep. And so when I got up in the morning, as I said, at 4 o'clock, and by the time they got up, my mom said, he lost his money again. I said, what are you talking about? I saw it last night. It was in his white socks. My mom said, what white socks? It was in his white socks. He was wearing, but my mom said, but he wears a black socks. So my father got up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom or whatever, and somehow he had to rearrange his money, and somehow he put it in his black socks or whatever, or maybe he lost it again. And anyway, we couldn't find it. We just couldn't find it, and then we had to leave. But luckily, we were staying with my daughter and her boyfriend, so we'll find it. It's not a problem. So I got a little bit upset with my dad, and I said, why do you do that? Why do you always hide your money like that? And then you don't remember. So he doesn't like it when I'm scolding him like that. He just doesn't like it. Then I finally realized it, and so all through the driving up, he sits on the passenger side. I noticed that he did something that I've seen before, which is that he completely changed. And he started to talk to me like, oh, thank you for your company. Your company is so considerate, and must be a tough job that you do. So he is so guilty of how he had hidden his money when I told him not to, and how he lost it, we couldn't find it, and how he was actually getting in the way, and we were actually delaying our departure and all that. He felt so guilty that the only way that he can deal with it is pretend that I was just a worker, that I wasn't his son. So you have a choice. You have a choice. You can insist that I was his son and not this guy who works for a living. Or I can just go with the flow. I just go with the flow. I couldn't have done that if I wasn't mindful of my breath. Because my own emotion would have come up and I would have reacted to it. That's how important mindfulness is. That's really how important. It's like I said it before. I said this. Imagine your mind. Mindfulness means, I gotta know where my mind is, because if I don't hold on to my mind, it's like I don't hold on to my 3-year-old son's hand, and he's gonna get run over by a car or he's gonna get kidnapped. The same thing with your mind. The same thing with your mind, that you gotta hold on to your mind, okay, and just not let those emotions bubble up. Especially the case when you're taking care of others. So anyway, yeah, exactly. Sika says he has survival. That's the point. Everybody has survived. He knows he cannot connect. He has pieces. He has pieces, and in order to survive, he has to make it work. He has to make it work. So he comes up with his own way, and you have two choices. One, you said you just go in there and you shatter that into pieces. Now he's had nothing. Now he's even worse. The other thing is just be with that journey. Just be part of that journey. But this is not something that you talk about. This is something you train for. What we talk about here is not theory. What we talk about here is just sharing your own journey, our own spiritual journey, and say, hey, this is how I do it. This is how important it is to be mindful. This is what it means to be mindful. Here's a skill. That's it. And then hopefully, when time comes, you get to use that on your own. It's all about preparation. It's all about skill. It's all about technique. It's not about theory. It's not about understanding. It's not about your brain. Okay?